What is up guys, what is going on? Canon released a new firmware today for Canon R6 and R5 and it is 1.5.0. This is pretty unexpected for me because I thought they were pretty much done with all the updates, but this is pretty a big update. This is pretty much what they have with the Canon R3, which is autofocus on cars. Not only that, there are a bunch of other updates you can check out on Canon's website. Autofocus on your face if you don't have a face. I mean, you have a face, but if you have a helmet on or goggles, so if you go skiing for example. I wasn't able to test that, but in this video I took my time and spent the whole day trying to testing the feature on autofocusing on the cars. I've been shooting cars for quite a while. If you guys been following me, I shot a bunch of videos with Lexus and Tesla and Mercedes, and I've been actually shooting all that with the R5. I wish I had that feature back then, but now we are having it and I gladly tested it out for you guys so you could see the results for yourself. And in this video I will be showing you all the possible scenarios in my opinion that you can run into when shooting cars and using autofocus. So I covered not only cars but also bikes and bicycles because that actually worked. And I'll also try to cover every possible angle shooting at daytime and nighttime. So the main question, does it actually help and if it makes a difference? Let's find out. Quick disclaimer, this video was shot on 85 EF lens 1.4 and 35 1.4 Sigma art. Most of it was shot especially during the night at 1.4 and during the day at different aperture. I also screen recorded the screen of the Ninja 5 so you could actually see what I'm seeing. That way you can see the autofocus points. So let's not focus on the actual quality of the video, but on the focusing itself and how it was detecting the cars. So I've got a couple of videos in here. Let's start with just a simple one where we focus on cars which are sitting idle. So you can see there are two cars in here and I was just moving camera from left to right and it actually grabbed the cars right away. It automatically kind of picks up on the car and it sometimes picks up on the car which is further away or closer, and that is actually up to the camera. So that's kind of interesting, but you can also force to touch on a car and it will actually refocus on that particular car. Now let's check out some of the moving shots. I just went on the street and shot some cars and you can see here the F-150 I believe. It was focusing fine, and as you saw I moved the camera to the left and it just picked up one random car, then there's another car and a green car, and it just like picking up all these random cars that I was looking at the streets, and that's pretty cool to see how it's focusing on some of them. You could kind of see that sometimes it loses track of it, especially if the cars are moving fast, but some of these shots and some of the autofocus points were locked on. Here there's the bicycle and it was also locked onto it, which is pretty cool. And I believe there was another bike coming in and from the far distance it couldn't grab onto it, but as soon as it got closer you see there's a little square in the bike, so that's pretty cool to see, and it moved to the face and back to the square on the bike itself. So I guess it's grabbing the actual wheel on the bike. Here there are some other cars which was grabbing and autofocusing perfect during the daytime. Another F-150, looks like a pretty common car. Here's the van Xfinity focusing, not a problem on this little truck. Kind of lost it for a second and here it is. Here's a Tesla. I was trying to get a back of it as I was driving behind it and it had no problem to lock onto it. Here's the bike. This was pretty cool to see because it was actually focusing on the bike and then on the back of the helmet of the bike, and it kept going for a while even when the bike was far away from me, so that's pretty cool. Now here's another shot on the highway. Here is interesting because I was trying to move the camera left and right just to defocus and focus again, and it was automatically focusing again on the random car, which here was a red Tesla which is far away, even though there were some cars that were closer. But I was shooting on 85, so I guess that kind of makes sense because it was easier to point. Now here are some shots during the night. As you can see I was shooting here at ISO 6400 and f1.4, which is harder to focus, so it took a little more time to focus, but still it had no problem to find focus. Here it thought for a second and struggled, but the lights of the cars were throwing it off for sure, but it took a good second or two on some cars to actually get the focus and lock onto it, like you can see here. Here's the bike again, focused, and some other cars, no problem to focus even at dark night, ISO 2500. Takes a second to find focus and there it is. Here I was shooting from top of the parking lot and I was able to grab on some of the roofs of the cars. Some of these cars, the autofocus didn't work when I would point on top of the car and some would. Most of it actually would not, so that's one thing to mention, that it doesn't really want to grab on top of the car. It only likes the sides, the wheels. I guess that's what it detects the most. But like you can see here, the top it detected all the way when the car was already moving away. Here's the same thing. As soon as it sees the front of the car or the back, it grabs onto it. If you point straight on top of it, it will not lock onto it. So that's worth to mention. Here's the bus. It will actually catch on to it in a second. I like to see these cars being grabbed on focus, even though I was so far away shooting on 85, and it was still using that feature perfectly fine. And here's the last scenario again. Top shot, no problem focusing, even driving under the trees. I had no issues getting focused, even though it takes a second, but once it locks on, you're good. Here's my car all the way far away on 85, 1.6, still grabbing on, not problem. Now let me show you some of the actual clips that I was able to capture using the R5 during the day and night. Not the actual grabs from the Ninja, but actual 4K footage. I didn't go crazy on an edit, but these are 4K C-Log 3. Same settings as you were seeing me recording, but in real life scenario, actual shots so you can see it for yourself. How was the focus performing? How was it locking onto cars? And if you could spot any autofocus issues here. To me, it looks fine during the day and during the night. I was actually surprised. At night, it was working really, really good. It takes a second or two to actually find the car or an object like a bike or bicycle, but once it finds it, then it locks onto it and it doesn't really lose it. And even if it does lose it, it kind of catches back to it. Here are also some photos from the shoot that I was able to get. Nothing crazy. Again, I was not focusing on the quality, but more on the autofocus capabilities. I did some denoising and some basic color grading, and that's about it. Well, that is it for me. Hopefully you found this video helpful. I tried to do a lot of testing to cover all the scenarios. Is this actually such a big deal of an update? First of all, I want to say thank you to Canon to actually following up and adding these features later on these cameras. It's pretty cool, kind of like what Tesla does, where you buy a car and then you get all these features later on, and that's what they did with the R5. I'm surprised they actually added this, and also features like a C-Log 3 on a later on camera, even though they released R3, and I thought they would preserve these features to the R3, but they actually added to the R5, which is really nice, and also to R6. So thank you for that. But long story short again, is this actually such a big deal breaker, and is it really helpful? Like I said, I shot a bunch of car videos before. If you find a way how to work with your camera, you will be fine. So before, I would just tap to focus on the car and it would lock onto it, and I will get my focus perfectly fine when I was following cars, getting all the rolling shots and you name it. But having this feature is very helpful because you don't really have to tap on the screen. You just point the camera on the car and it gets the focus perfect. So that would save you time, especially if you are shooting in a stress scenario where the cars are moving really fast and you don't have time to actually press that button. I think that's pretty helpful. Is this feature actually working like it should? I would say it works at like 80%. Because as you saw, some of the times the camera would try to focus and defocus, and it would take a second to actually figure out what to focus on, especially if there are a bunch of cars. But even if there is only one car, it takes a little bit of time to actually find the car sometimes, especially when it's moving, and grab onto it and stick to it. But as soon as it finds it, it sticks to it, and that's good to me. Well, that is it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace!